Welcome back to Grade 7 Geography, Unit Number 1, Physical Patterns in a Changing World. This is Lesson Number 5. How do we describe climate? And chances are you've never seen a graph quite like this one. In fact, it looks like two separate graphs placed on one chart. But believe it or not, by the end of this video, you are going to know how to draw a climate graph as well as how to read the information on a climate graph in order to describe the climate for a given area. To describe climate, geographers begin by gathering data about weather. This data is supplied by meteorologists who study the weather conditions of an area on a daily basis. Earth's climate works as a system. The global climate system is made of 5 parts: Earth's surface, the atmosphere, all the water on Earth, all the ice on Earth, and all life on Earth. With energy from the sun, these 5 parts interact in different ways and cause different climates in different areas. Groups that have similar climates are called climate regions, and we can see this on this map of Canada. All of these different colors represent different climate regions within Canada. And what makes Canada so fascinating is that we've got several different climate regions. So the climate region in central Canada is very different from the climate of, say, British Columbia or Nunavut. Geographers use the data about the daily weather conditions of an area to create a climate graph. A climate graph shows us how the precipitation and temperature of a region changes over the course of a year. Comparing past and present day climate graphs can help us identify how climate has changed over the years. In some areas, climate statistics have been kept for over 100 years. And here's an example of a climate graph for Toronto, Ontario. Unfortunately, this doesn't tell us what year this climate graph was taken in, but basically the blue bars are representing the amount of rain and or snow that fell each month in Toronto, and then the red line shows you the temperature in Toronto each month of that given year. When reading a climate graph, geographers consider 4 things. Monthly temperatures. Changes to the hottest and coldest temperatures show us whether there is a warming or cooling trend. Temperature ranges. By subtracting the highest temperature by the lowest temperature, we can see whether the seasons are getting longer or shorter. Precipitation totals. Changes in precipitation totals tell us whether we are getting more or less rain. And finally, there's precipitation patterns. Changes in these patterns help us predict drier summers or wetter winters. Studying the climate range of one location does not give us a good understanding of how the climate is changing around the world. Geographers need to study climate graphs, from a number of locations, as well as climate graphs that were created in past years. So as you can see, from our climate graph for Vancouver, BC, and for Northeast Brazil, the climate in both of these areas are very different. So when we're talking about worldwide climate, we have to look at the climates of various regions throughout the world. Now, to draw a climate graph, we follow these steps. And I'll go over this with you at the start of tomorrow's class. First, we mark the months. We use only the first letters of each month, and we label the months along the horizontal axis of the graph. So starting with January all the way to December. Step 2, label the temperature scale. Label the temperature scale on the left side of the graph. Here in this example, we're starting with 0 degrees, about halfway up the graph. Then we number by 5s above and below the 0 point on the scale. And an important note, this diagram does not show negative temperatures on the temperature scale, but I'm going to be giving you guys a worksheet tomorrow in which I'll actually have drawn the entire, well, both scales on the graph. So that'll make it a lot easier for you. Okay, step 3 is you label the precipitation scale. And we do this along the right side of the graph, starting with 0 at the bottom and counting up by even intervals. So this example here counts up by 50. Take a look at what the intervals are on the worksheet I give you tomorrow. Step 4, plot the precipitation information. Use the precipitation scale to mark the precipitation for each month. Now, there's going to be a table of information in your textbook which you're going to use to refer to, and that table is going to tell you how much precipitation there was in each month of the year. So after you mark the precipitation for each month, and we're marking this through bars, you shade them in blue to represent water. Step 5, plot the temperature information. Again, you're going to use the table of information in your textbook to find the temperature for each month. And then you plot the temperature on the graph. And once you've done that, you use a red pencil or a red pencil crayon to connect all of the dots. And we do this in red. I find that red stands out against blue, so it'll be much easier to read later on. Finally, step 6, add your labels. Okay, I'm actually going to help you with this because on the worksheet it will already be labeled temperature and rainfall. Should even have a title at the top, climate graph 4, and you just write in the name of the city. Okay, so after we do a quick review of this video at the start of tomorrow's class, you're going to get a worksheet and you are going to draw your own climate graph. And I'll certainly be more than happy to help you with this in class tomorrow. So again, I'll point out the proper page in your textbook to use for your table of information. And just a heads up, you may not get your climate graph done in class tomorrow, so it probably will be take-home work, but the nice thing is there won't be a video to watch tomorrow night. So in place of a video, it will be finishing up your climate graph. Okay, so what you really need to do tomorrow is make sure that you've got one red coloring pencil and one blue coloring pencil. If you found any of this information confusing, I do suggest you watch this video again, but we'll recap all of the steps in creating a climate graph tomorrow. So until then, this concludes today's video.